Are you ready to begin creating video content for your brand, your business, to share your message, to sell your products, to market your services? The reality is, video content is one of the most powerful forms of content that you could be publishing right now. I'm Brandon Eastman, and you're listening to Impact Hour, which is a segment of the Be Better broadcast that is designed to help you to grow your brand, grow your income, as well as reach and impact even more people. And the power of video is an amazing way to do that. In this segment, we're going to talk about two specific things. We're not going to talk about how to create the video content. We're not going to talk about which microphone you're going to use. We're not going to talk about the best camera to use, because the reality is all you need is this little device right here. All you need is your cell phone. You don't need a fancy camera. You don't need a fancy microphone. You don't need all these different accessories in order to, prove yourself as a specific authority, or you don't need any of that stuff. Really, all you need is a great form of audio quality. Audio quality is really the most important thing that you can really need here. And you can get incredible audio quality from a smartphone, depending on the phone you're using. You can get it from a Yeti Blue microphone, which is like $80 to $100 for like a really, really nice one. So you don't need all the fancy stuff. All you need are the bare essentials. Now, if you're new to the Be Better broadcast, we don't run ads. We don't have any sponsorships. All that we ask you is, when you take away a piece of value from this broadcast, whether I share with you a piece of information that's going to help you in your business or yourself personally, please share this show with just one other person who could use this information. I'm Rashid. It is a pleasure to have you here, my friend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Super excited to have you here. In this segment, we're going to talk about two things, not the how, but the mindset, the what. We're going to talk about what's required before you can even begin making content, whether it's a blog, an article, a podcast, a video, anything. The mindset comes first. Specifically, we're going to talk about 3 ways to build confidence in front of the camera, to build confidence for the video content that you're going to be sharing with your audience, as well as what is the best way to connect and to build trust with your audience. It is video, but there's one thing specifically that I want to share with you that will help you accelerate the trust that you're able to build so that you can reach and help more people, but also so you can sell your products, services, coaching packages, whatever it is you're offering. Camera confidence. How is it that you can build confidence on video? Video content is scary for a lot of people, and I know it was scary for me at first too, because you're putting yourself out there, right? If you're live, then you don't really have too much room for error, which is actually a misconception, because people would rather see you for who you really are. They'd rather see the real you, the raw you. But even if it's not live, you're still putting yourself out there, right? People get to see you. People get to hear you. People get to see how you move your body. They get to hear how you talk. It's not as simple as just posting a blog or writing an article or even writing a book, because you're incorporating the rest of you into the scene. And video is so powerful because it's the number one way to connect with your audience. They get to see you. They get to hear you. I'm sure you know of influencers or people that you follow right now where even though you haven't met them, it feels like you know them. And it feels like you know them just because you've watched so many different videos of theirs, where if you saw them in person, the way that you would talk to them would almost be as if you were talking to a friend versus someone that you've been watching on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or wherever it is you watch them. It's almost like you are friends with that person. And especially as a content creator, a coach, a consultant, your clients' accessibility to see who they're going to be working with before they actually work with you is so powerful. But how exactly do you build confidence so that you can show up as your best self on camera? Well, I want to share with you today 3 specific ways that I built up camera confidence. And I've learned this from experience. I've learned this from books. I've learned this from other videos. And this information has helped me to market my courses to over several hundreds of people. It's allowed me to bring on 5 to 10 clients. It's allowed me to market my book to over 16,000 people. It's allowed me to market my mastermind. Like, video content is the main form of content that I use because of how powerful it is to reach and connect and build trust with your audience. So I want to help you to do the same thing. And tip number 1 to build confidence on video is you don't need to be perfect. I find that this is like the number one thing stopping people from creating content in general, but specifically creating video content. People feel that they must be perfect. They feel like they can't say, so they feel like they can't use any of these filler words. But the thing is, people don't connect with someone who is absolutely perfect. People connect to those who they can relate with. And this is the thing about your audience. Your audience makes mistakes. Okay, they say so. You don't need to worry so much as to what mistakes you make, as much as you need to be thinking about the person you're making the video for in the first place, which is your audience, which is the one person on the other end of that camera lens who's going to be watching you and who's going to be taking away these tips and applying them to their life and their business to get a specific result. The reality is, if you're worrying about being perfect, if you're worrying about messing up, then you're already thinking about the wrong thing. You're thinking about you. What if instead you didn't focus on perfectionism, but instead you focused on them? The person on the other side of the camera, the person who's watching you on their screen, who is relying on you to give them a piece of insight, to tell them a story, to give them any kind of value at all that can help them to make a difference in their personal life or their business, whatever kind of information it is you're sharing. So don't worry about being perfect. Just get started. You know, you're the most critical of you out of everybody. And if someone's on the other end of that camera, or they're in the comment section or anything, and they're judging you, or they're hating on you, or they're posting a bad comment, or whatever it is, that's not a you problem. That's a them problem, right? Gary Vaynerchuk talks all the time about haters and how to handle haters. And he says, I show sympathy for them, right? And the thing is, when you start, you're really not going to have haters, right? You're going to have mostly support. You might have that one person, maybe like your disconnected uncle or aunt of the family, who's like, why are you making videos online? Because they don't understand how that stuff works. Let's be real. But it's not about them. It's not about your family, your brother, sister, your spouse even. It's about the person you're making the video for in the first place. This is why it's so important to know your ideal client and the person you're trying to reach. But even if you don't know who that is, just begin making videos. Put yourself out there, because we're all a personal brand. Whether you have a product or service yet or not, you are a personal brand. Even if you work for a company, your ability to put yourself on video and become confident and effective on video is so super powerful to make yourself even more valuable for whatever company it is you're working for. And check it out. The reality is, perfection doesn't matter, because 90%, maybe for most of those listening, 99% of your video content is going to not be recorded live. Like, I record this live because I've been creating video content now for several years, and I was delivering trainings and presenting for years before that. But I only started creating live videos like 6 months ago, because only then was I finally confident enough to put myself in front of the live camera, unafraid to make mistakes. And I make mistakes all the time. I've already made like 10 mistakes. You might not even have noticed them, right? Because most of it's in my own mind. But most of the mistakes that you make, or the awkward silences, or the words that you didn't mean to say, or someone interrupting your video, or the kids crying in the background, 99% of that can be edited out post-production. You can edit it out in iMovie, Final Cut, whatever editing software you use. Everything can be trimmed. Go watch some of those people you follow on social media. You'll see the editing. You'll see them cutting from one frame to another frame. And some of them are very critical of their content, and others can do an entire video in one shot because they're just not worried about what others might think of a slight mistake that they make. So don't focus on perfection. Focus on simply getting started. Tip number 2, for building your confidence on video is, you got to have a plan. You can't just, well, you can, but you really don't want to just show up to the video. You don't want to just hit record and wing it. I mean, that might be a great way to improve in your improv or your comedy, but it might not be the best way to actually improve on delivering a specific valuable message to your audience. It's really important to have a plan. And, this is similar to when you're giving speeches in front of other people. You don't need to have like quotations and an entire script written out. All I really focus on, and this is my style, it might be different for you. All I focus on is I have like points here that I want to touch on. I don't know if you can read these, but this is this video that I'm shooting right now. All right, I've got the bullet points of what I want to talk about. Every now and then I'll look down to see what the next point is because, listen, my memory isn't like photographic memory, so I still have to look at things like this. But have some kind of outline ready. Maybe you want to share 3 tips or 3 points with your audience or the people watching. Then write down those 3 points as bullet points. That way you can simply look down and recalibrate where you are in your presentation. But when it comes to having a plan or having an outline together, I learned something years ago from Russell Brunson, who is the founder and now, or he used to be the CEO of ClickFunnels. Someone else took that role, but incredible marketer, incredible salesperson. He talks about having an outline of having a strong and powerful hook, having a story in the middle, and then having a very strong call to action, a specific thing that you want the person watching the video to do, or a specific place that you want them to go after they're done watching the video. So this hook, story, call to action format, the hook is what stops people as they're scrolling through their feed. This is what gets them to click on the video in the first place. If you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, this might be a picture that you upload as the thumbnail, or maybe it's the title that you title the video. Like generally, I always know the title of the video before I even put together the outline, because if the title isn't compelling, then you won't have anybody actually click the video or the live stream and watch it. But listen, if you don't have people watching your first few videos or your first 10 or 20 videos, that's fine, right? You got to start somewhere. Start small. Start with 1 viewer. Start with 2 viewers. You've got to start somewhere. But having a compelling title and a picture or a thumbnail that gets people to stop is going to be super powerful, because that's what they see and that's how they decide to even click and watch your video before you even get to your tips and the points that you want to make. Now, your hook is what gets people to stop. Your story is a personal experience from your life or the life of someone else that enunciates the point that you're trying to make. We digest stories much better than the way that we simply digest someone telling us what to do or telling us what it is we should do. So that's the power of stories. We could create an entire live stream on that alone. And then the call to action is what you want people to do. So I will frequently ask you, if you're enjoying this, to like this video, subscribe, or follow, depending on where you're watching or listening. Like, I want to give you a specific action to take that can help the channel grow, but that will also ensure that you see all the videos that we post in the future. So you have to have a call to action, something that you want the people to do. Because if you don't have that, then you share valuable content. People are wondering what to do next. The call to action lets them know what you want them to do next. So this outline gives you a pretty clear and concise plan for how your video is going to go. So that's step number 2. You got to have a plan. And step number 3 to really build your confidence on video is as simple as continuing to make videos. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep going live. You've just got to keep recording. It takes time. Like, the only reason I started making video content was because video content changed my life. Watching people like Tony Robbins and other live streamers that I watched, and Les Brown and some of the podcasts I listened to, I really enjoyed watching as somebody spoke to me and gave me advice or told me a story. So that's really the only way that I knew how to create content. But then I learned about, you can have a blog, you can write an article, you can write a post. And at the very least, I recommend that you incorporate video content into your strategy. It doesn't need to be the only thing you do, but the more powerful you are on video, the better presenter it makes you in general. You just have to keep going. You've probably heard of the mastery rule that says that once you do something for 10,000 hours, you become a master of that thing. Well, obviously, if you're not spending 10,000 hours on something, you're still going to become pretty good at that thing. And studies have actually shown that you become better than 99% of other people at something once you've done something for over 100 hours. And studies also show that you become proficient at something after simply putting 30 hours into that task. So if you quantify it, if it takes you 30 minutes to an hour to record one video, or even 30 minutes per video, then it would realistically take you 50 to 60 videos before you even become proficient with creating video content. So as you can see, this is a journey. This takes time. The point is just begin. Begin sharing your story. Begin helping people with what it is you want to help them with. And I talk about how to create content, and I talk about how to create the titles of content and what your target audience wants. I talk about all of that in other impact hours that we broadcast, but in many other videos that we have on my LinkedIn and on my YouTube channel as well. So be sure to check those out. But you just have to get started. And if you want to accelerate your progress, then be sure to like and subscribe and follow wherever you're listening or watching so you can see all future videos. But in the comments and description, there's a link to schedule a free 15-minute clarity call where you and I together will get together and we'll talk about your business, your brand, how you can grow your brand, how you can reach even more people so that you can create more impact, but also so that you can sell more of your products and services. Click that link below so that we can have a conversation to accelerate your progress. We can't get really anywhere alone. We have to have a coach. We have to have a mentor, someone to guide us along. And I would love to be that for you. So check out the description, check out the comments below. I hope that this served you well. And we're going to take a 30-second break before we talk about how you can build trust using your video content. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Be Better Broadcast Impact Hour, where we help you to grow your brand, your impact, and your income as a result by selling and marketing your products and your services and your powerful message. We just talked about 3 ways to build your confidence on video, so be sure to rewind after this segment if you want to catch that. But let's talk about something that's even more important. How can you build real and concrete trust with your audience? How can you sell and market your services, but also impact even more people with your message? The thing is, people listen to other people that they know, like, and trust. It's basic sales 101. But people will also take your message to heart and implement and take action on your message when they know you, they like you, and they trust you. So how is it that you can better connect with your audience? Well, I've got 2 very specific things that will help you to build this trust. There's many different ways, but I believe the most powerful way to build trust with your audience is to create strong video content. You know, you connect with someone a lot more through a video than you do an article or a post. Watching videos from people like Tony Robbins and Eric Thomas and Mel Robbins and Jim Rohn helped me to feel like I knew those people when I had never even met those people in my life. You probably follow some people on social media where if you saw them on the street, it would feel as if you were talking to a friend because you've watched so much video content from these people. Even if you like have a favorite musical artist and you watch all of their music videos, it probably feels like you have a kinship with that person. And that's not because they know you. It's not only because they've given you valuable information, but it's because now that you've posted a video, they've seen you. They've seen the way that you talk. They've seen you on camera. They've developed a closer relationship with you than they ever would have been able to through a blog or an article or even a podcast, which is just voice. Video is one of the most powerful ways to build trust with your client, especially if you're a coach, especially if you're a consultant. People aren't going to want to work with you until they can see what you can do, until they can see what you're all about. You know, when you watch these videos and I'm giving you information and whatever it is I'm giving you, whether it's a story, information, bringing a guest on the show, this is exactly what it would feel like to work with me. Except obviously, like, I'm not talking nearly as much. I'm asking questions, I'm listening so that we can create a really specific game plan for you. But this right here, what you see is what you get, right? This is how it would be to work with me. And other people want to see how it would be to work with you. I see so many coaches and consultants out there, and even leaders inside of companies where someone will have a leader for 6 months to a year, and they don't even know what that leader looks like. Unless you like go to their Facebook page and you stalk their Instagram, you don't know what they look like. The most powerful leaders, the most powerful coaches, the most powerful consultants put themselves out there to be seen. And it doesn't mean they're an extrovert. It doesn't mean that they love to be around people and they love to put themselves in front of the camera. It simply means they know the power and the effectiveness of video, and they care about their people enough to create short-term discomfort by turning the camera on or hitting record on their smartphone because they're more focused on what value they can bring to that client or to the business they're serving or to the team members that they are the leader of. If you want to build real trust, then you've got to put yourself on video. That's number one. And number two is really one of the more important pieces. And I follow a lot of people, and I have yet to hear many of them do this one very important piece when it comes to building trust with your audience. And that is, you need to share your personal story. People talk a lot about authenticity. Real authenticity is letting people know who you really are, not by just telling them who you are and how many awesome things that you've done and all these lists of achievements or trophies that you have lined up in the background, but build trust by being authentic and sharing with them the hard parts of your life. Share with them the times in your life that maybe you weren't even as proud of, because this gives that person an idea of where you came from. Jim Kunkel says video is so powerful. Great communication that gets viewers' attention and interest. Absolutely. And the thing is, now video is being watched by so many more people, especially with the coronavirus and the pandemic and everything is from last year. Everyone became so much more conditioned, number one, which isn't always the best thing, to be on their phone more. But listen, if people are going to be on their phone more, I'm going to create more video content so that if people are watching anything, I'm going to give people something to watch that will actually make a difference and serve them in their life. Although cat videos can be kind of fun. Heidi Brooks, being appropriately vulnerable is leadership. Yeah, I like how you said, and I'm really happy you added that, because that's probably something I wouldn't have said. Appropriately vulnerable. So, you know, you might not want to share every story with someone. You might not want to share with someone like the bar adventure that you went on when you turned 21, or maybe even before you were 21. Like, you want to appropriately share what is relevant to the person watching, but share something that the person watching is probably going through right now or has also gone through in their past that will cause them to connect with you at an even deeper level. Jim, I agree on personal and professional stories as they create a stronger bond. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. And this is the thing about sharing your personal story. Ask yourself, what are the series of events that were so powerful and maybe even painful? They probably were painful, that have led you to where you are right now. And ask yourself, which of these stories or events is relevant to my audience? So if you're a fitness coach, then it might make sense to talk about some stories when you were overweight, or talk about what got you started on your fitness journey in the first place. If you're a finance coach, then maybe talk about the debt that you were in yourself. Talk about how life was before you knew how to earn money. Talk about how life was before you were taught how to use money, how to invest money. If you're a relationship coach, talk about how you got yourself into this realm of relationships. If you're a leader in a company and everyone starts from the same position, then share with those people about the times when you were in their shoes, when you were in their position. It's going to create a connection with you and the people listening that you wouldn't be able to achieve as easily, at least, as if you simply wrote a post or wrote an article or even gave your story on a podcast, because video is a very intimate setting to share these things. So when it comes to telling the story, in a future video, we can talk specifically about the different elements of a story and how to weave them in for maximum effectiveness. So be sure, wherever you're listening to this, like, follow, subscribe. That way you see all future broadcasts and all future videos that we release. But think about it as simple as this. Think about the beginning of your story, right? The pain that you were going through, what that pain caused you to feel emotionally, whether it caused you to feel desperate or depressed or anxious. It reminds me of my story when I was 21. I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I was over $20,000 in credit card debt. I had no idea of what my purpose in life was. I wanted to get promoted in the company I worked with, but I didn't know how. Like, I tell these stories all the time because it lets you know that I've been exactly where you are right now, or I've been exactly where you have been in the past. It shows that I haven't always just been someone who went live and shared content and shared advice. Like, you have to go through things before you can share your advice. You have to actually have experienced something in order to be an authority in that space and in order to actually be credible. So, what was the beginning of this story? What were the realizations that you learned along the way? Who were the coaches and the mentors that helped you? And then where has that led you to? So if we go back, what's the beginning of the story? The initial pain. What did that cause you to feel? Who helped you out of that pain? Was it a coach, a mentor, a book you read, a video? What was the breaking point? The point where you realized that you had to change something. And then what were the realizations or strategies or techniques that you used in order to escape that pain, to get to where it is you are now, that you're sharing with other people to help them to do the same thing? And a lot of people always say, Brandon, I'm not really sure what videos I would create. If I share my story, then I can share my entire story in one video. Well, the beautiful thing about a story is you can create a separate video for each of those individual pieces. Yes, create a video that shares the entire story from beginning to end. That's awesome. It gives people a good 10,000 foot view. But then what if you created a separate video on just the painful times, talking about how it affected you, your family, your self-esteem, your job, your colleagues, whatever it may be? Talk about the way it made you feel in a separate video. And then you can make a separate video for each of the realizations and each of the different chapters of that story. The key is to always be sure that you're adding and injecting value for the people who are watching and listening, because that's the reason they're watching and listening in the first place. Now, if you're saying to yourself, this is great, I want to build more trust with my audience, I want to be more esteemed as a leader inside my organization, then if you want to accelerate your growth, then I'd love to have a personal conversation with you. So in the description, in the comments, there is a link to schedule a 15-minute clarity call with myself, where we'll dig into your unique situation and I will help you figure out a game plan to help you go from where you are to where it is you want to be with your brand, your impact, and even your income as a result. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow wherever you're listening so that you can see all future videos. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in live. Love your comments. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace out.